What's going on, collectors? This is Parlay J here with you today. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about 50 of the most common terms in sports card collecting for beginners. Now, I have been wanting to make this video for a really long time, and it's because when I got back into card collecting, a lot had changed. And similar to me, I know there's many of you out there who either collected previously, took a break, and got back into it, or maybe you never collected before and now you're just getting into it for the first time now. And there's a lot of specific lingo and language out there that it takes some time to learn. And with thousands and thousands and millions of collectors out there who have been doing this for a while, you don't want to feel intimidated when people use certain language and you're like, what does that mean? So I wanted to make this video for you, for anybody who is unsure about some of the lingo in the card collecting industry today. Now, there's plenty more terms that are going to be covered in this video today, but these are 50 most common just to get you started. Probably some of them you already have heard of, maybe some you haven't, or maybe it's all brand new to you. Either way, it's all good, because it's really important that if you're going to be spending time in card collecting, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, any sport, that you are well aware of the language and terminology so that you can not only make good decisions, but you can learn and you can communicate with other collectors, dealers, friends, whoever. So let's get started. Number one, and it is the most common that I think everybody is aware of, it is the pack. This is a very special pack, actually. So a pack of baseball cards is just like this. It could range from a couple cards to 10, 12. It really depends on the brand of card. A pack of baseball cards is wrapped, always sealed, always make sure that it's sealed, and is the most common way to buy baseball cards. Now, there's a couple types of packs, and so I'll highlight one of them for you today. This is called a fat pack, sometimes also called a hanger pack. Why? Because it usually hangs in the store from a hook. And why? Because it's fat. It's thicker than the average pack. These types of packs typically have some sort of guarantee in them, whether it's better odds of getting an autograph or a parallel or what have you. But the desirability of these packs is that there's more in there. There's usually another flavor or specific type of card that you have a better chance of getting, and they also cost more than your conventional pack. Number three is a box of cards. There's a number of different types of boxes. There's hobby boxes, there's jumbo boxes, a whole variety. But a box of cards is a sealed box which contains a number of packs in them. And again, that ranges. It could be 12, 24. It all depends on the brand of card and the type of card. Number four is the hanger box of cards. So a hanger box, again, is called that because it has a tab where it can hang in a store from a peg so that you can purchase it. Hanger boxes are on the smaller side. They're usually bigger than a pack, but smaller than a larger size box. Again, they usually have some sort of guarantee or better odds at some sort of special card in there. Number five is a blaster box. So a blaster box is bigger than a hanger box, and as you can see, larger in size, and it contains sealed packs within it. The biggest difference between the blaster box and the hanger box is that you don't have your typical sealed packs in the hanger box. It's usually just cellophane wrapped. But this blaster box almost always has actual sealed packs, whether it's paper, foil, whatever the type of conventional wrapping is, but they are usually in here. And again, this is usually more coveted because it comes with an even better odds at getting one of those special cards, and they're also usually more money than the hanger box. Number six is the mega box. And so all different brands make different types of mega boxes, and usually mega boxes are special because they have a number of packs, and they usually have a very special insert pack in it. That's a slightly different variation of the cards that are in the conventional packs, and are usually worth more money or are more desirable. Mega boxes are usually worth more money than hanger or blaster boxes, and the contents usually includes more packs than both of them as well. That's not always the case, but that is usually the case. And speaking of case, That's number 7. So case is a number of boxes altogether. Rather than purchasing onesie-twosie boxes from a store or a dealer or online, you can actually be similar to a retailer or a wholesaler and purchase an entire case, which is conventionally 12 to 24 boxes in one larger box that you can buy a lot at a slightly lower price because you're buying in bulk. Number 8 is a set. This is not the most desirable set, but it's the closest one that I could grab for this video. So a set is an entire year's worth of one brand of cards. And the cards are always numbered 1 through whatever, usually 5, 6, 700 or so. And every card within the set is in order when you purchase it. So when, in this case, Score was a brand of cards, came out in 1991, you could purchase this box, which has every single card that Score printed in that year for this particular brand. And so there's a desirability to having the set because certain collectors like to have everything of a specific set. Some collectors just like to have the best cards out of the set. But when you have an entire set, you have the completeness covered. You have every single card of every single player that was made for that year and that brand. Term number 9 is PC. And no, it doesn't mean personal computer. It means personal collection. This is one of the most common terms that you'll hear people say or type if you're on Facebook groups or Twitter or social media. Personal collection usually differentiates a seller's inventory from what they collect for themselves, just like it sounds like. And so whenever you see PC, always know that that means that is a collector's usually favorite cards that they want to keep for themselves as part of their personal collection. With number 10, we'll get into some card supplies. And the first one is a penny sleeve. This is the most common and most inexpensive supply for sports cards. They're called penny sleeves because typically they used to cost 1 penny each. And it is a thin piece of plastic that a baseball card can be slid into from the top, which protects it from dirt, dust, scratches, and the whole 9 yards to keep your cards in very good condition. My personal suggestion is that almost every single card that you have that is of some sort of value is worthy enough to be put in a penny sleeve. You can buy these in bulk. The prices have gone up a bit since COVID-19 began because of supply and demand, but because you can buy these very inexpensively in bulk, it is very worthwhile to protect your investment. Number 11 is the card saver. Now there's a number of different holders that you can put your cards in, and you could see here that the card saver is one of the more flimsy of the holders, but it is used for a very specific purpose. Now it usually has this tab here that sticks out on top of the card, and it lets you open it up and slide a card directly into it. Card savers are typically recommended for when you send your cards out to a company to have a grade assessed to them. And the reason why is because the card saver is thin and it usually prevents the card from moving because it's very tight. So when you transport cards, sometimes depending on the holder that you put it in, they can slide around in there and get damaged. But a card saver, because of its size, its thinness, and the material, it holds that card very, very tightly so that even if it's in a box rocking around in the mail, it almost is guaranteed not to slide out of a card saver. Number 12 is the top loader. And this is the favorite of collectors and next to the penny sleeve, the second most common card supply. Now again, these have also gone up in price pretty significantly over the course of the last couple months due to COVID-19 and supply and demand. But the top loader is a much more rigid type of clear plastic. It also has a very flat top. Unlike the card saver, it is more protective when being mailed. Now, the downside to this is that the top, because this isn't very thin, there's actually some space inside here, so there is potential for the card to rattle around or even fall out. So typically, if you were to mail one of these with a card in it, you put a piece of painter's tape over the top to prevent it from coming out. But if you're using it just to store your cards, these are the favorite. They look nice. You can also get them in different colors if you like around the border. It's completely up to you. Companies like UltraPro are one of the most popular that sell these. And this is the choice of collectors. Number 13 is the Snap-Tight or MagSafe. And so this, because of its name, it has a magnet on the top. And this is usually used for some of your more valuable baseball cards. The magnet can be pulled apart, so this can be opened up. The card can be slid right inside. There's a space for it so that it's indented and it doesn't get crushed or flattened or bent. And then it just snaps closed, or a magnet keeps it closed. This can get pretty expensive if you need a lot of these, and they are heavy, so if you're trying to ship them, then it obviously adds into the weight of the shipment with your card in it. But as you start to graduate up to more and more expensive cards, you want to protect them. It is very, very rigid. It is not going to bend, and it is difficult to shatter it. Number 15 is your screw down card holder. And it's called that just because of what you would expect. There's screws in each of the four corners of this. The screw down, again, is usually used for your more expensive cards because it is very rigid. And it also looks kind of fancy with the screws in there. It looks more like a piece of art rather than just a holder. This is, again, very, on the more expensive side from the other supplies that we talked about, but this is gonna be for more of your higher end cards, especially if you're mailing them and you wanna really, really protect them. This is where it's at. Number 15 is the sheet. And so these are sheets of 3x3 plastic that are 3-hole punched and are intended to go in books of cards. So for those of you that collect cards and you keep them in books, this sheet is what you would use. Now let's talk about different types of cards. Number 16 is known as the base card. The base card is the most simplistic type of card that's out there. And all that is it's just your conventional picture card, nothing special or unique about it, of a player. Number 17 is the first card. And the first is pretty much used with the brand Bowman because it is the very first player card that a player has had, and it's always in the minor leagues. Bowman is famous for their minor league cards, and that is why they are the master of the first card. Number 18 is the rookie card. The rookie card is what we pretty much learn first when we start collecting baseball cards, and it is known thanks to its telltale RC logo, usually in one of the corners of the card. They typically vary it every season when the card design changes. The rookie card is the most coveted card of all sports cards because it is the very first professional baseball card that an athlete has in their repertoire. Number 19 is the Rookie Cup card. The Rookie Cup has been around from Topps for years now, and it's usually in their second year of play. So it's typically a second year card, but it isn't always. The Rookie Cup is really cool and is something that some collectors specifically look for just because of its iconic design. It is actually a little logo of a cup that looks like a trophy. Number 20, similar to the Rookie Cup card, is known as the second year card. So just what it sounds like, it is the second professional season of a player's career, and it is the second most coveted card, second or third most coveted card of a player's span of career in baseball cards. Typically your rookie card is number 1, maybe your first is number 2, and then your second year card possibly number 3. The rookie cards, of course, are the ones that significantly increase in value when a player is doing well or when there is high demand for a particular player. The interesting part about the second year card is that it is sort of the next level down. So as people get priced out of the market of the rookie card, they then turn to the second year card, and that card slowly starts to increase in value. Number 21 is known as a hit. Now you might hear people say this when they're opening up packs or opening up boxes, and what a hit is a good card. Some people define it differently. A hit is either an autograph card or a patch card. That's coming in a little bit. one of the very, very special standout cards. But broadly, a hit is defined as just a really, really good card. Usually either a rookie or one of those special types of cards, or a very low population card. Number 22 is a checklist. Checklists exist either on a card itself, or you could find it online. And what a checklist does is it gives you a list of all of the cards that make up the set for that particular year, that particular brand, and that particular product. The checklist is usually a collector's best friend when they want to collect an entire set, because it lays out everything that's in there for them to go and get before they have 100% of that particular product. The checklist itself, if you have it on a card, usually is not worth money at all. Actually, in the 80s and 90s, the card itself was a checklist. In more recent years, in the 2000s, they started putting picture cards of players on the front and the checklist on the back to make it a little bit more desirable. Number 23 is the autograph card. Now it is just what it sounds like it is, the autograph on the card. So collectors not only like having rookie cards and having special types of cards, but having the players John Hancock across that card, as long as it is authentic, will significantly increase the value of that card. Number 24 is a variation of the autograph card, and it's known as the hard signed autograph card. And all that means is that the player actually had this card in their possession with a pen in hand and wrote their autograph directly onto the card. That brings us to number 25, and that is the sticker or label autograph card. So different from the player actually having the physical card in their possession right in front of them, what companies do is they actually send stickers out to a player on sheets, and the player will autograph each and every one of those stickers, usually a couple hundred at a clip. And the sports card company will take those stickers and place them on the card. So it's usually less desirable to have a card like this because the actual card was never physically in the player's possession, and collectors find value in the fact that they actually held it when they signed it. But this is a variation of the autograph card. Number 26 is another flavor of autograph card, and it's called a cut autograph card. Similar to the sticker, but not quite as sophisticated. A cut autograph card is when something else that had the player's signature, like maybe they signed a check or maybe they signed a piece of paper, was actually cut out and placed on top of the sports card. And again, less desirable because it's not exactly like the player had the card in their possession, but nonetheless, it is their signature as long as it's authentic, and it is on their picture card, which collectors adore. Number 27 is the jersey card. And a jersey card is what it sounds like. It is a sports card that is far thicker than the conventional sports card, and it actually has a piece of the player's jersey embedded inside of it. Collectors love this because it's kind of like a cross between sports card collecting and memorabilia collecting. Number 28 is the patch card. Now, a patch card is exactly what it sounds like. It has a piece of the player's jersey embedded in the card. However, it's not the cloth that makes up the jersey, it is actually one of the patches that were sewn onto the jersey. So that could consist of either a piece of the player's name, their number, a captain logo, some logo that's on the shoulder, could be an all-star logo, it could be a team logo, it could be the team logo on the front, anything like that. That is seen as even more desirable than the piece of the cloth of the jersey of the player. And actually, when it comes to desirability, collectors prefer having a patch that is easily decipherable, and the most desirable is actually the logo of the team that is decipherable, that is of that team. And the more colors in the patch piece that you have is usually the better. Because obviously, since these cards are so small, you can't always fit an entire Toronto Blue Jays logo in a little 1" by 1" window. Number 29, you'll also hear a term, but these types of cards are also referred to as relics. Relics are kind of used as a term thrown around for anything physical that was in a card. And it could also not even be a jersey, it could be a piece of a bat, it could be a piece of home plate, it could be anything like that. Number 30 is the insert. And the insert card is essentially just some kind of special card that was placed in. Usually there's a series of them. For example, in 2019, I believe it was, the top series had an insert set of Vladimir Guerrero, all different variations of Vladimir Guerrero with the same look and feel style card, but you just got a special card every time you bought a certain type of a pack. Insert cards are a little bit more valuable than base cards, but it really depends on which insert it is. Number 31 is the parallel. Parallels are usually serial numbered, and it is usually the same photo as a non-serial numbered card, but it is special because it's either colored or it is a special look of the card. But most importantly, because it has a number on it, that means it was a limited printed card. And so the smaller the number of types of cards that are out there available, the more scarce they are, the more desirable they are. Number 32 is the rainbow. So if you hear somebody say the word rainbow card, all that means is a card that comes in different colors, either pink or blue or red or sometimes camo, all different types, and each one comes with a specific level of scarcity. So it changes from brand to brand and from year to year, and sometimes it even is unique depending on the retail store that you purchase it from. For example, Walmart usually has the blue, or Target has the red card. And again, these are very unique and they're intended to create variation in card collecting so that you don't just get one player, one card, and you're done with it. You can actually collect the player and 10 different variations of that same card in different colors because they have varying levels of scarcity. Number 33 is the refractor. And the refractor essentially means that it refracts light off of the surface. It is very desirable to collectors just because it really looks nice. The surface is very shiny, it takes the light and it actually bends it in different ways. There's different flavors of refractors. You'll hear the term speckle, you'll hear the term cracked ice, and all that is different patterns of the light being refracted off the surface of the card. It's usually very beautiful, very easy on the eyes, and that's a big reason why collectors love it. Number 34 is the short print. Now, when it comes to players having picture cards, back in the day, there was one card, one picture, one pose, and that's it. When the short print was introduced, it was essentially a way to create more variations of cards for that player in a particular set or brand. So a short print is, like it sounds, printed in lower supply than the conventional card. There's also not only a short print, you'll also hear it termed as an SP. There's also a super short print, which is even less supply, termed as the SSP. And sometimes we go crazy and we get the SSSP super short print. Number 35 is the serial numbered card. That is a type of a card, again, that is created for scarcity purposes. So a serial number has printed usually on the front or the back of the card a number, which is a unique serial number, and it's usually out of another number. So it's 1 out of 100 or 2 out of 250. And again, these serial numbers play with the other terms that I mentioned to you earlier, your parallel cards, your rainbow cards. Typically, a certain color has a certain number, maximum number that it is printed. So a blue might be out of 100, a red might be out of 2. And then the first number is the unique serial number because that is the only one of that card that is ever printed because it has that unique serial number. It is more desirable than conventional cards, again, as always, because of scarcity. And it just looks pretty nice when it's stamped, usually in gold or silver on the front of the card, sometimes on the back. Number 36, following along the lines of serial, is the 1 of 1. And that basically means that you have the only card of its kind in print today. And it is a serial numbered card because it is 1 out of 1, but it is the only one. And it is the most expensive type of card that you can find. If you start layering on all these different variations and you were to have a rookie card that is a 1 of 1, that is a parallel, that has an autograph, now you're talking the most expensive card for that particular player available. Number 37 is one of the most desirable variation of cards, and it's known as the printing plate. These cards are usually 1 out of 1 and considered to be one of a kind. and it is the card that's actually used to print in the machine all of those cards for that particular player. It's always inverted because it is a printing plate. It's backwards so that when it prints on a card and you look at it, it's actually facing you the right way and it's not a reflection. But a printing plate is very, very rare. It can be pulled out of packs, and if you were to get one, it is usually very, very valuable. Number 38 is known as the acetate card. Now it's called that because it's completely translucent, except of course where the picture is. It's cool because it's different from the refractor or reflector cards, which bounce light off of the card. It actually lets light pass through it, and it's completely translucent and in some cases transparent. It always was very interesting. It looks like plexiglass and it's just got a unique flavor to it. Number 39 is the type of collector, and it's known as a player collector. For instance, if I'm a Mike Trout fan and I only collect Mike Trout cards, I am a player collector for Mike Trout, differentiating from number 40, which is the team collector. So if I collect Mike Trouts, I might be a fan of the Los Angeles Angels, or Anaheim Angels, or California Angels. But either way, I might be a fan of the Angels, and if I'm collecting all Angels cards, I'm a team collector. Number 41 is the set collector. Now, similar to the set that we talked about earlier in this video, a set collector is one that loves the hunt and loves to go out and find all the cards in a particular brand, in a particular year, in a particular set, and collect them all. Usually all the cards are numbered 1 through X, and they collect all of them and put them in order. They can collect them through buying packs, collect them through buying individual cards, trading, what have you, but they like the thrill of the chase and they like the ability to be able to go out and put together that set. They also get termed as a set builder in some cases too, as opposed to just going out buying the box that has all the cards there already. Number 42 is the term book value. Now, it was used in more of a literal sense back in the 80s and 90s when Beckett actually printed a physical price guide book or magazine, and that was the default for all collectors to go to figure out how much your card was worth. So when people would say, how much is your card worth? They would say, what's its book value, or what is it book for? Now today, even though print is not the mode of choice for understanding the value of your cards, and it is digital and it's online now, people still use the term book value just because it's lived on throughout so many years. Number 43 is sell value or market value. Now there's a difference between book value and sales value or market value. Sell value or market value is typically what a dealer marks up the price to when they are selling. Now, of course, when you sell your cards, you're usually looking to make profit and you're usually marking it up or not necessarily taking it at the price of the most recent sale or the book value. You always want a little more and you want to see how much you can get out of it. That's capitalism for you. So the biggest difference between the book value and the sell value is that the book value may be perceived value on what somebody, some company, someone thinks is the value of the card, and the sell value or the market value is the value of the sold card and what it was sold for. Now today, eBay is the place for finding the market value of cards. Speaking of eBay, number 44 is the term comps or comparables. So if you're familiar with the real estate agency, when you go to buy, sell, lease, rent a home, typically you're looking at houses that are in the same neighborhood that are comparable in value, and they're referred to as comps in that industry as well. Just the same way in the sports card industry, when you have a sports card and you're trying to sell it or you're trying to price it and you're looking around to see what it's worth, if you don't use book value, then you typically go to a place like eBay and look at comps or comparables, and that is what sets today's market in the most part. Number 45, we're gonna get a little advanced here, is coining. Now, coining is a good thing to know. If you're selling cards or you're buying cards, coining usually comes into play on platforms like Facebook or Twitter. And what it is when you actually take a photo of a card that you're selling and you insert next to it, on top of it, a piece of paper that has your name and today's date. Now, it's debatable how much that actually helps prevent fraudulent activity, and that's what it's usually used for. It's used as a way to sort of protect a buyer from being scammed by somebody who just snatches a picture of a card they don't even have, posting it online, saying I'll sell it to you, accepting the money, and then sending nothing in return. So coining gives a buyer at least a little bit of reassurance that the card dealer or seller actually has the card that they say they have in their possession. Again, it's debatable how much it really helps because it could easily be photoshopped, but nonetheless, it's something you definitely want to be aware of, especially when buying on places like Facebook and Twitter. Number 46 is population. Now, population is a really important term for you to know, especially when it comes to the big card authentication companies. Population is basically the number of cards of that type that are out on the open market at any given time. If you're into the stock market, that is known as market capitalization. Market cap is the amount that are out on the open market at any given time. It gives you a sense of if the market is flooded with that particular type of card or if it's in short supply. Typically, investors like lower populations on certain cards and dislike higher populations on cards because that means supply and demand and there's an oversupply. Number 47 is print run. And along the same lines as population, print run is actually the number of cards that were printed. So think of the US government when they print money. If you were to count all the dollar bills that they printed, that would be their print run. In the same way, sports cards are printed on printing presses and are disseminated around the country and the world. So print runs are actually very important to be aware of. They're not always fully disclosed because that would give away things like population and scarcity. However, there are ways to back into the print run, and sometimes they're disclosed by certain companies. It's very important to try to keep an eye on it. The internet is a really good way to find out print runs through the grapevine, so you can get a sense of if the market is becoming oversaturated with any certain flavor of card or set or not. Number 48 is submission, also known as a sub. Now, when you're talking about authenticating your sports cards and sending them to one of the big companies, BGS, SGC, PSA, the act of taking your cards, collating them together and sending them into that company for authentication is known as a submission. Now, each of these companies have different processes behind it. Some actually are online and fast and easy. Some are still a little archaic and are paper-based. It depends which company you go with. But just know that whenever somebody says, I'm doing a sub or I'm gonna put together a submission, they usually mean a bunch of cards that they're putting together, getting ready to send out to an authentication company. Number 49 is grading. I intentionally use the term authentication company because they're also known as grading companies. And what grading is, it's taking your card and giving it a grade or a score, typically on a scale of 1 to 10. Now there's 3 major companies, again, BGS, SGC, and PSA, that do this for a living. They take your cards, they hold it up against a certain number of attributes and factors, and based on that, they compile one number grade. And that is what is stamped on the card when it is encapsulated in this case, or slab. That should be another one on this list. A slab is this plastic case. Grading is very, very important because it has such a big impact on the value of your card. It can drive your card's value really high, or it can actually drive it down. If you get a very low grade, you might actually be better off having a card that is ungraded or loose, another term, or raw, another term. Basically, that means a card that has not been sent to a grading company and put in one of these cases. When a grade is very high, that could exponentially increase the value of your card. So very important term to get familiar with, and very, very important to understand the concept of grading so you can make the most out of your collection. And number 50 is the subgrade. Now, some companies take grading a step beyond. And while we said grading is typically on a scale of 1 to 10, depending on which company you use, some companies also provide the next layer deep and call it subgrading. So while you may get a 10 or a 9 on your card, your subgrades typically are of 4 categories: corners, edges, surface, and centering. And those subgrades are also out of a scale of 1 to 10. So if you get, let's say, a 9, you could then look to your subgrades and you might have gotten a 10 on corners, but you might have gotten an 8 on centering, and that brought your overall grade down a bit. Collectors love subgrading, and actually a premium is charged for it because it gives you a little bit more clues into why the card was graded the way it was. Collectors really, really like it because it tells them exactly why the card was graded the way it was, so they're not left to guessing. It is a really, really cool offering, but again, it costs more money and it is more desirable. All right, guys, so those are my top 50 terms for you to be aware of in sports card collecting for beginners, or newbies, or newcomers, or whatever you like to call yourself. Or even if you're not new and you just didn't know some of these, then I hope this helped. Again, I made this video because I knew when I returned to the card collecting industry, there was a lot of terms that I didn't know, and it was really hard to understand and get in a conversation with people who already were using all of these terms, and I had no clue what half of them meant. I want you guys to be as well informed as possible and educated on the matter, because like they say in the old school cartoons, knowing is half the battle.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Learning these is going to help you and put you in such a good position to collect the right way, to buy the right way, and to sell the right way. Now, there's way more terms than I covered here, and I even threw in a couple on top of the 50 unofficially. But these are the ones that you really should know, at least the basics of, if you are collecting cards, selling cards, trading cards, or buying cards. So that's it, guys. If you enjoyed this and this was helpful to you, please let me know and comment down below. I love seeing your comments and I respond to every comment that I see. I always appreciate the conversation and love the interaction with you guys. So thanks again. Hope this was helpful. And as always, Parlay J, take care, spike your hair. See you next time.